How's it going out there, guys? It's Brandon with the AccuVal Group Home Inspection Services. Today's video will be on water heater maintenance. Like anything in your home, proper maintenance can prolong the lifespan of an appliance and let it run more efficiently. This video in particular is in regard to tank water heaters, whether it's gas or electric. It does not pertain to on-demand or tankless water heaters. So this video is not for you if you have one of those in your home. So the maintenance of flushing the water heater, the reason we need to flush a water heater probably at a minimum on an annual basis is because as water comes into your home, it carries in with it certain substances and minerals. The water heater provides a spot for those substances to settle, i.e. settlement, at the bottom and kind of the sides of the tank. And so as that builds up, the efficiency of the unit decreases because you have to heat up that sediment, and then once that sediment's heated up, you heat the water up above it. It can also cause some corrosion on the insides of the tank. And then when you run the hot water, if you're seeing that cloudy color, oftentimes that means, hey, it's probably time to flush that tank. Now, some people ask, how often should I be flushing this? Like I said, at a minimum, I would say annually, but it really depends on how hard your water is. So if you're on a well system, typically you're gonna have harder water. You might wanna flush your water heater more often. If you've got a water softener, that should probably help take some of those minerals and substances out before it hits the water heater. But if you've got hard water, it's a good idea to do this, a couple times a year at a minimum. So what I'm going to do is grab some tools, get some stuff set up, and we'll walk you through step by step what to do and how to flush this water heater. Okay, so some of the tools that I'm going to use is a flathead screwdriver. You may not need this depending on the type of your water heater. A bucket to potentially catch any water drips. Same thing for a towel. And then a hose to route the water from the tank to a drain in my basement. You may have to route it outside if your water heater is not located in a basement, or it may have to be routed to a bucket and hauled outside. So these are some of the items that you may need. Step one of flushing your water heater is to turn off the energy source to the unit itself. Now, if your unit is gas, like mine is, this is going to involve turning off the gas, and the pilot light will go out, and so you'll have to relight this when you're done. If you're uncomfortable doing that, it's probably a good idea to call in a plumber or a professional to have this done. Now, if your water heater is electric, that involves flipping a breaker on and off. That's probably at your main panel, so that's a little more simple. So what we'll do is we'll start down here at the thermostat, and this one you can turn it all the way off. Some guys say you can turn it in vacation mode for this. I prefer not to do that. I want to make sure that this element is not working at all, because if your heating elements are working in the water tank without any water in it, you could really damage the unit. So I've got the thermostat set to off. I'm going to go one step further and turn off the gas to the unit. So if this is turned horizontally, that tells us that the gas is off. And so the energy source is no longer on to this appliance. Another side note here is this would contain a lot of hot water. I ran some dishes and some laundry to kind of use up the hot water that we've already heated and paid for in the home. That might be a good idea so you're not just dumping 40, 50 gallons of hot water. Step two is to hook up your hose to the drain fitting. Oftentimes this is on the bottom of the tank. It should be at the bottom of the tank. And we're gonna hook that hose up and then run it to wherever we're draining the water out to. So in my case, it's a sump pump. Like I said, it might be a floor drain for you, but we wanna give a place for that water to go. Now this next part, there's a couple different schools of thought. Some people like to turn off the water supply to the water heater right now, which I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what I like to do is keep it on for a short period of time, so this tank is under pressure, so it continues to blast any of that sediment, hopefully out this line. So what I'll do is open up that drain valve. I'm gonna open this drain valve. Some of these do not require a flathead. Some of them you can just turn by hand, but we'll back this out and let some of this water flow out. Now I've let this initial blast under pressure run for a few minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. Okay. And now I'm gonna shut water off to the tank. Depending on how your water heater's set up, there's a couple ways you can do this. One, if your plumber installed it with valves, and sometimes there's two valves, one on both the hot and cold side. We wanna shut off the one on the cold side. So this one's marked with the blue ring and it says cold, and it's cold to touch, so you know that this is the cold inlet side. So what I'll do is I'll shut off water here, so no more water is going into this tank. Now, if you don't have a valve here, don't worry, there's another way that you can do it, and that's by going over to the main water shutoff. Brief interruption to the video, guys. If you are finding this video helpful, informative, or interesting, please hit like and subscribe. Follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm gonna continue to put out valuable content like this for the general public. If you could tell your friends, family about the AccuValve Group, that would be great. I'm a small business owner in Central Illinois. I provide home inspection services and environmental testing, and I'm trying to grow. So anything you can do to help me out, that would be great. Thanks, and back to the video. And so you can shut water off to the entire home. Quick disclaimer, I always tell people don't force any water, gas valves, whatever, if it's looking corroded. You gotta be super careful with them. If you break it, chances are you're gonna have to call the city and have them turn off water at the meter until you can get it fixed. The water's turned off to the tank. We can open the drain valve once again to continue to drain. Okay. To assist in draining the water heater, we need to introduce air to the hot water supply lines so we don't create a vacuum. So we do this by opening up the hot water side of all your fixtures. So if you got two valves, generally the hot water is on the left and you want to open that up. So go ahead and go around to any sinks that you have. If you've got a shower, go ahead and turn the hot water onto that, and we'll get air in those pipes to drain the water heater a little faster. One thing I like to do while this is draining is to check and make sure that the TPR valve, which stands for temperature pressure relief valve, functions freely. And so you just flip it out. You should get a little bit of water out of there. And that helps introduce air to the system. But what this valve does, it prevents your water heater from overheating. If it hits a certain temperature and pressure, it will open up and let water out of there to prevent any sort of explosion from the water heater. So we're gonna leave that open a bit. So as you can see, we're continuing to drain this water heater. This could take quite some time, depending on your tank size. The common tank is 40 gallons, but if you got 50, it might take a little bit longer. So we're just gonna let this continue to drain. Just a quick add-on tip here, if you're starting to experience restricted drain flow at the other end of the hose and you know that there's still water left in the water heater, there's a possibility that some solids may have gotten clogged in the drain valve itself. So something you can do to break that up is to work this valve in and out a few times, and then that should restore that flow to the line. After your water heater has drained, or mostly drained, we want to leave the drain valve open and do what I like to call pumping the tank. And so what this does is we're going to turn the water supply on and off in effort to break up any leftover sediment in the base of this, kind of percolate it up and hopefully out this drain line. So we'll cycle on and off the water at this valve. And we may do this, 4 or 5 times to kind of help bust that sediment up and continue to let it drain before we close the system. After we've pumped the tank and the water is drained, we can go ahead and close the drain valve. And then we want to make sure that the TPR valve is closed once again. And we can go ahead and flood the tank. Now, as your water heater fills, go ahead and leave the hot water side of your fixtures open. What we're doing here is pushing all that air we introduced in the system out and bleeding those lines. And so once you get a solid stream, it's no longer burping, you should be good to go. Okay, final step then is to unscrew the drain hose, turn on the gas, and light the pilot. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps you out.